Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, may I have your attention? So the webinar is about to begin. So Honorable Mr. Speaker, Dr. Rizky Prima Sakti, and distinguished participant, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon. First of all, I would like to welcome you to our webinar and thank you for finding time and visit our YouTube channel. My name is Abdul Aziz Yahya Saoqi, and I will be your moderator in this event, inshallah. But before we start, let me explain how you can talk to us during the webinar. If you have any queries or questions during the presentations, just write them in the chat column, and then at the end of the presentation, we will read your question, inshallah. So now we start. As we know that currently every country are facing difficult times due to economic downturn, which is caused by the spreading of COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, every government in every country has taken several action by implementing certain policies to handle and break the pandemic. As a consequence, many economic sectors are affected tremendously by these policies, including Islamic financial industry. So, in this great occasion, inshallah, we will watch and hear very interesting topic about the impact of the pandemic towards the Islamic finance industry in the Middle East, notably in the Kingdom of Bahrain. So, which will delivered by our honorable speakers, Dr. Muhammad Rizky Prima Sakti. So, before the presentation begin, let me introduce the speaker first. So, Dr. Muhammad Rizky Prima Sakti, currently serving as assistant professor at University College of Bahrain, and he also former researcher at the Institute of Islamic Advanced Studies in Malaysia. So Dr. Rizky got his PhD at the UTM, University Technology Malaysia, and he got a master degree from the International Islamic University of Malaysia. So we are very glad we are very delightful to have him in this event because this is a rare session because Dr. Rizky is an expert of the Islamic finance area. So we are very delightful to have you, Dr. Rizky, in this our webinar. So. So I will let's begin our discussions in this topic. So Dr. Rizky, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Brother Abdul Aziz, for your time in introducing me. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. And very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Islam. First of all, before I begin my speech, let me express my gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because amid this difficult time and this pandemic, we still can performing our ibadah, fasting, sawum, yeah? And at the same time we can also doing a talabul ilmi. And thank you very much for Puskas BAZNAS for your initiative to invite me in this very good chance to deliver a humble speech of the impact of COVID-19 and the Kingdom of Bahrain. I'm gonna also just assess what are the impact on the Islamic finance industry, taking the Bahrain as a case study, right? If you allow me also, I would like also to say Happy Ramadan to everyone. happy fasting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our iman and uplift our knowledge amidst these difficult times. And hopefully may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala soon we rid out this COVID-19 outbreak. Right. So my presentation title today is the impact of COVID-19 on the Islamic finance industry in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Right. So we will see taking a lesson from the Middle East country, especially the Bahrain, where so one of the GCC country, how they combating the virus of the COVID-19 and what are the impacts on the Islamic banking and finance industry on this country. Right. So next slide. Yeah. Now, it just give an overview about the current state of the COVID-19 worldwide. So this is the recent data that I got yesterday. Uh, as of today, more than 3 million positive cases of the COVID-19 worldwide. And we know that the epicenters now it turns to Europe and Latin America, while the number of people died, it's more than 200,000 people, right? It's a lot of people that if we compare the number with the people died in tsunami in 2014, 2004 Indonesia, it was 100,000. So it's more than double people died due to COVID-19. And this COVID-19 undeniably has an impact on the economy. You see, because the people they are, yeah, they cannot go to work. Social distancing, physical distancing. So it will be affect the economic activities. Cities lock down, factories become halts, right? So that economic activities in many countries in Europe, in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, they are going down. So later on we will see what are the impact in the Bahrain economy. Yeah, closing of the school and university, some of the impact. In the Ramadan, we also see now the closing of the mosque and the holy place in the Haram, Al Haramain in the Saudi, Masjid Al Haram and Masjid Al Nabawi, yeah, both closed, and only few people they can gathering to perform the Tarawih prayers and working from home. Yeah, and people also now try to adapt with the new environments to working from home. And some of the government initiative try to pay the electricity bill and support the private sectors in response to the COVID-19. Right. Next slide. Yeah. So this is the latest graph that I downloaded yesterday. Yeah. From the worldometers, you see here the figure shows that the number of the positive cases of the COVID-19 worldwide is far from reach the end, right? So the graph is still not flattening yet, right? Even you see it's still in the increasing patterns. If you notice that now the epicenter of that crisis of outbreak it's turned to Europe and Latin America, right? You see how the yellow colors and the red ones it shows, yeah, until 28th of April, yeah, yesterday, it's still current, and it will still prolong. And WSO yesterday in the news is say that the director of WSO says that we are not yet enough with the COVID-19. So that is a serious message, right, to the nations, to the peoples. All right. Next slide. Yeah. Now, try to narrow down the COVID-19 in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Yeah. So, as of yesterday, 28th April, the total number of the coronavirus cases in Bahrain it took more than 2,800 people. Yeah. You see, the graph is still increasing patterns. But the interesting point here is the number of people that is first somewhat low. You see, out of 2,000 people, the eight peoples were died due to the COVID-19. Right. So if we look at the history, we trace back the history of COVID-19 in the Middle East. Yeah, it comes from the first in Iran, and then it spread out to Bahrain and then Kuwait. It was still remember in the 21st of February on 2020, where the one school driver, they came from overseas, right, and they returned to Bahrain. And since then, 21st February, the number of the cases accelerated. Number of the cases accelerated. After that, the governments, they are taking the active measure to close the schools and public universities, all the university, both public and the private universities, right? While we don't know until when the virus will be over. But if you look at here, the number of the people recovered in Bahrain, yeah, it's reached 1,300, almost 50%. Yeah, 50% of that case, COVID-19, where Alhamdulillah is they are now in the health condition, they are recovered. So next slide, we will see the recovery rates. Please turn to the next slide. Yeah. So the total case recovered, yeah, the cross country here, Bahrain, it took 59%. Yeah, although the number of the case is still increasingly, but the people's, yeah, who were recovered is it took the rate 59%. Yeah, so around 1,300 people were recovered from the COVID-19 in the Bahrain, because you see, I would like also to express that, appreciate the government here in the Bahrain. They are taking the active measures. Although here, for your information, Bahrain, there is no full lockdown. Yeah, the government here applied the partial lockdown, but no curfew. Even the Bahrain is the least the one of the country that applied a lockdown, a partial lockdowns lately, as compared to their neighbors, compared to Saudis, compared to Kuwait and other GCC countries here. But yeah, the way of the government handle it is like quite effective and efficient, whereby the ban of massive gatherings, right? People's now they are compulsory to wearing masks, yeah, outside. If they are, without a mask, we will fine by 5 BD, right? And no business is not allowed to open. If they open the business in the public, they will get a fine of up to the 5,000 BD. And from society itself, the people also they abide the rules, right? Or initiative taken by the governments to combat the COVID-19. And Alhamdulillah, 59%. Yeah, this is the rate I think in the beginning of the April. Yeah, people were recovered from the COVID-19 in the country. Yeah. Next slide. Now, um, some of the measures or the initiative taken by the government, as mentioned before, yeah, this country it won't apply. It don't apply the full lockdown, unlike in the Saudi. Saudi, I think is previous week they applied almost 24-hour lockdown, quite also. But in Bahrain, it's a partial lockdown, right? Only in the some business and some stores they can't open their business, only pharmacy, for example, and then the restaurants they can still delivering their business, and 14 days compulsory quarantine, especially for people who are returned for COVID-19 affected country. They have to do self quarantine 14 days. Yeah, but here it's very serious. When you're talking the self quarantines, yeah, at home. So in front of your home there will be a police. Yeah, so the police will be watch out whether you are still at home or you are going outside. So that is a compulsory 14 days compulsory quarantines. Suspending flight, yeah, like other country. Suspending prayers in a mosque, yeah. Um, Also now in the holy month of Ramadan's, now the Tarawih prayers, yeah. Closing schools and university until the further notice. Rescheduling the major events. It's supposed to on March, I think in the end of the March, Bahrain is supposed to have the Formula One race, but at the time when the number of the case were constantly increasing, so the government took an actions to ban or to rescheduling the Formula One race. Now, restricting gathering to maximum 5 people. Yeah, you can go outside, but maximum 5 people. Beyond that, you get fined. Yeah, you cannot go to the public beach. Cannot go to the park. Right. You have to limit up to 5 people. working from home. Now people working remotely in the university, in the industrial sectors, financial sectors. Government also paying the electricity and bills, starting from this month, April, up to 3 months later. Governments will covers the private sectors and also the home electricity and bills. And as mentioned before, wearing face masks now it made mandatory, compulsory. Yeah. Without mask, if you go outside, you're going to the mall, yeah, you will get fined by 5 BD, 500 dinar, or equivalent to approximately 200,000, yeah, around 200,000 Indonesian rupiah. Yeah, next slide. Right. So just to give an overview, yeah, the country of Bahrain. Bahrain is a small island, yeah, in the peninsula, the Gulf. Yeah, even the size of the Bahrain is very much smaller than the Jakarta. Yeah, total population of Bahrain just 1.5 million people. Yeah, and it divided into four governorate. Yeah, and the northern, southern governorate, central, and the Muharram. Yeah, and the Bahrain's, as like the others GCC country, is pretty much rely on the oil revenue. Yeah. Looking at the data provided by the Ministry of Finance and National Economy of Bahrain, 17.8% of the Bahrain GDP it comes from oil and gas industry. And then the diversified economy to services, most of them in the financial sectors. Yeah. Followed by the financial service, 16.5%. Bahrain GDP from the financial sectors. And as you know, the Bahrain is one of the hub in the world in the Islamic finance. Yeah. It's centers, is a home from uh, the regulators like OAFI, Standard Setting Body, CBAFI, yeah, IAFN, you're established in the Bahrain, yeah, and Bahrain also one of the earliest countries in the regions in the GCC and also in the Middle East regions to adopt Islamic banking. So the first Islamic banking for information, the Bahrain Islamic Bank was started in I think in 1970, the late 1970 or the early 1980s. And since then, the number of the Islamic banking and finance tried to blossom in that country, right? But here you might ask also now because if you follow the recent news and the current trend where the oil price drop, yeah, the oil price war, it affecting a lot, yeah, the Bahrain economy where the government projects, yeah, now they turns to pending and will affect the Bahrain economy, yeah, because it's 17% of that GDP or income of Bahrain has come from the oil and gas and financial service due to the corona. Yeah. Um, First and foremost, we need to take a look at the COVID-19 not only hit the Islamic finance, but the financial sector at large, conventional sector, they were plumbed from the due to the COVID-19, right? So next slide we will see what is the impact on the Bahrain economy due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Yeah. Yeah, this is the study compiled by the Fit Solutions. They conducting a study on the impact of the COVID-19 on the MENA country, Middle East and North Africa regions, while taking a data from the IMF and World Bank. If you see here the data on MENA regions, yeah, the 2020 economic growth in MENA region is supposed to reach 2% at the end of year 2020. Right, it's somewhat significantly high into 2019, it's just 0.2% in the MENA regions. Yeah. However, due to the COVID-19 outbreaks, the Fit Solutions, they then revising, yeah, they dragging down the economic growth of MENA regions to near 0%, 0% growth. Yeah. So if you see here the change of the growth, yeah, they make a corrections to minus 2%. Right. Almost the country in the MENA region, it face a downgrading projection of their economic growth to the extent that the degree to which the projection growth is varying across the countries. Perhaps it is due to the how the country can respond the COVID-19 case, and also looking at the economic and the political situation in the regions, right? So maybe talking country in Bahrain, yeah. Previously, the Bahrain it's projected to reach the economic growth of 2.3% at the end of 2020. Yeah. So it's somewhat higher than 1.5% growth in 2019. But then, yeah, the Fitch Solutions, they revised their prediction growth of the Bahrain's by dragging down 2.2% growth. Now, Bahrain is expected to grow only by 0.2% growth in 2020. So you see here is the significant impact on the economy of the Bahrain, because especially the country is, in the previous slide, is rely on the services sectors and also from the oil income and oil revenue. Talking about the oil revenue, yeah, and oil price. Now, in the midst of the oil price war, it hit the fiscal pressure from the government in the GCC and also the Bahrain, right? Because 17% of that Bahrain economy comes from the oil and gas industry. Yeah. For information, the company's name is Bahco, yeah, Bahrain Petroleum Company, and it's contribute significant, just like in the GCC country. Recently, there's a news saying that the oil price future in May it even turns to negative, right? So, what is impact to the economy, to the financial sectors in the Bahrain? Yeah, it is anticipated that many the government project taken will be suspended, right? And hence it will be affect the liquidity streams to the banking sector, also including in the financial sector. Because now you see no projects, no fund stream to the government. That means less liquidity, yeah? Less liquidity to channel to the banking and financial sectors, right? So yes, the fiscal pressure from oil price war, it hit hard the economy in the Middle East and also the country in Bahrain. And it if the governments can't handle it, it might be exacerbated. Now, later on in the next slide, we will see what are the impact in short run and in long runs in the economy of the Bahrain. Yeah, please. Yeah, it is worth to saying also the Bahrain, yeah, in the regions, in the Middle East and North Africa regions, it provides the largest economic relief package to combat the impact of COVID-19. Yeah. If we take out the percentage out of GDP, the gross domestic product, the kingdom has launched the economic stimulus of almost 30% of GDP. Yeah. One third of the Bahrain GDP is launched to respond the pandemic impact on the Bahrain's economy. Yeah. So the value is equivalent to 11.4 billion US dollar, or equal to 4.3 billion Bahraini dinar. Yeah. So we see now in this chart the size of the COVID-19 economic stimulus package as percentage GDP. Yeah. Bahrain is the highest among the countries in the regions, followed by the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Morocco. Even if we compare worldwide, yeah, as percentage of GDP, Bahrain is the highest. Yeah. Talking about the percentage of the economic relief package launched by the governments out of the total GDP in the regions, I think the latest data now in the worldwide, the Bahrain had put the highest percentage of the economic package to combating the effect of the outbreak. So what I'm trying to say here, the governments put in serious effort, yeah, to minimize, to mitigating the impact on the economy, yeah, to mitigating the impact on the economy due to the COVID-19, right? Let's look at what are the component of the economic stimulus package provided by the governments. Yeah. So some of the key government initiative to mitigate, to alleviate the effect of COVID-19 outbreak. Yeah. First is the postponement of the loan payment for 6 months. Yeah. So in this country, all of the loan, the car loans, yeah, the housing loans for 6 months will be postponed, both conventional and Islamic bank. Yeah, and yes, later on we will see it will be impact because no loan payment, that means no income, right? No income from the bank, and then what is the impact on the loan quality and the liquidity? Out of that 30% of the economic stimulus package, it turns also to paying the salary of the private sectors, yeah, for 3 months, starting from April until 3 months ahead. Yeah, because the private sectors is one of the sector that hit hard by the COVID-19 outbreaks because they stop the productions, people cannot go to work, right? And in the supply side activities, and we also affect the demand because less demand. Also, the agricultures now in the Bahrain, so some of the agriculture product is turns to high in the in the supermarket, and the private sectors, the company, they cutting down the salary of the staff because of the outbreak. So even from some sector, they laying off the staff. Yeah. So the government take actions to paying the salary of that private sector for 3 months, yeah. Exempting some of the taxes. Yeah. For example, exempting the municipal's fees, making tax exemption also for industrial land rental fee for 3 months, exemption for the tourism tax revise. Yeah. Things like this is the tax holiday for short terms provided by governments, yeah, in order to make the economic sector, the private sector, it keeps operations. But we don't know if this crisis prolong, if the outbreak will be prolonged, whether they will be sustained, or might be will face the calamity in the long run. That we need to assess in the future time. Yeah. Government also provide a liquidity support fund, yeah, for those who are badly affected, yeah, to the especially the small medium enterprises sector, the SME, up to 530 million US dollar. Yeah. Loan facilities, yeah, loan facilities to institutions, to the company that get affected by the COVID-19 by 9.8 billion dollar. By the way, this amount was somewhat increased from that previous amount provided governments. Now this is the latest month. Loan facilities up to 9.8 billion US dollar. Yeah, and paying electricity and bill mentioned before. Tamkin program. Here's the Tamkin program. By the way, is the um, as semi-public institutions, yeah, by the governments, created by the government in order to help or to assist the companies or small medium enterprises who get difficulties, right? So they provide a release, can get a loan from that pumpkin institutions, yeah, and they will try to assisting the working capitals for the SME, and also assisting them to how to keep running their business amidst this outbreak. And now, because of the outbreak, we see now it changed a lot. Yeah, our economic activities. Before, in traditional ways, the economic activities people buying and selling face to face directly. But now, because of social distancing, physical distancing, economic activities turns online. Yeah. Also, the SME turns online, and hence the government they create a platforms to accommodate the online activities, online commerce of the company. Let's turn to the next slide. Yeah. So just recently, the Kingdom has launched a free website. The code is the mall.bh. Yeah. This is a platform that accommodate all commercial store activities in Bahrain. Yeah. Because business is suspended until the further notice, right? So no income from that, no economic activity, and the government that provided the platform, right, it is free, and the companies, they can upload it, yeah, according to their industrial classifications. Here you see, for example, the clothes, textile, yeah, fashions, department store, beauty, personal care, food, computer, so on and so forth. Yeah. So if you go to that website, the mall.bh, the is mainly to assist the SME in Bahrain. Yeah. The small medium enterprise who they hit hard by the COVID-19. Yeah. So by uploading this, perhaps it can release the burden from the SME, right? So that they are shift their economic activity to online. Maybe after COVID, yeah, post COVID, we will see now the online commerce become the primary activities, and the traditional buying and selling now become secondaries. Yeah. Now, the shift in the economics pattern in economics, buying and the sellings is near to happens. Yeah, and the COVID-19, it fastened that process. Yeah. So again, what I'm trying to say here, yeah, the governments it provide a platform for all commercial stores um, to selling and to doing the commerce activity online, yeah, through the mall.bh platform in Bahrain. Now, let's turn to the next slide. Now, so the previous slide we see the impact on the Bahrain economies, yeah, and how the government handle the COVID-19. Now, the interesting part here, yeah, to what extent the COVID-19 will be impact the sectors of the Islamic finance and banking. Yeah, first and foremost, I mentioned before, COVID-19 is undeniably it impact all sector, either conventional and Islamic. Yeah, but the degree to what extent this industry will be impact, it depends on how that firm, the Islamic firm, can respond, yeah, or can alters the government initiative, the economic stimulus provided by the governments, yeah. So if you see now this the data, yeah, in the Islamic stock markets, yeah, like others market in the world, yeah, the Islamic indices of S&P Bahrain Sharia Index, it fell about 31.63%, yeah, or close to 174 point, yeah. So the conventional index or Bahrain index or BAX also decreased by about 14%. So see, it is the reducing volume of the stock market activity, yeah, because of the COVID-19 outbreaks. Since it is, the disruption on the global supply chains, yeah, the temporary halts in the manufacturing activity, and because of the people they getting fear to get infected from the coronavirus, right? So in turns it will reduce the volume of the of the production, and in turns reduce the volume of the stock market activity, including the Islamic stock in Bahrain here. Yeah, if you see the rate of change is 31.6%, which is somewhat higher if we compare to the conventional index by about just 14%. Yeah, that data taken from Thomson Reuters in the early of April. Yeah, perhaps now is somewhat rebounds, right? But what we see here, Bahrain's Islamic stock market witnessed a sharp declines, right? So this is evidence that the Islamic corporations, yeah, Islamic stock market, they recently getting affected because of the economic repercussion of that coronavirus outbreak. Yeah. Now, let's look at the impact on the Islamic banking and finance, Islamic banking industry. Let's turn to the next slide, please. Yeah. So, in the previous slide, I mentioned the government had taken initiative, yeah, to provide a loan facilities and the liquidity support to assist banking and the financial firms. Yeah. So the banking sectors it already taken as number of actions in combating the spread of the COVID-19 outbreak, yeah, especially to meet the needs of the customers. Yeah. Among the initiative taken by the banking sectors, both conventional and Islamic in Bahrain, for examples, now the banking sector encouraging the customer to opening the banking account online, yeah, setting the credit card payments and updating the customer detail online. So no need to go to the bank directly, and everything you can do at home. Even now, the Bahrain Islamic Bank or BISB now it's turned to the as first digital Islamic bank. Yeah, in this country. Yeah, so all the activity. If you wanted to open an account, yeah, you don't need to go to the customer service, right? So you just there is a machine there. You just simply put in your ID or your passport. Here's your CPR, right? So everything you can do online, and then we do the verification later on, right? If you wanted to, setting the credit card and payment, everything can do online. Yeah. So yes, the COVID-19 it fastened the digital banking channels. Yeah. It fastened the digital banking activity, including the Islamic bank, right? That is the impact for individual. If we look at also the impact for the retail customer, yeah, the banking industry in the Kingdom of Bahrain, they took already the set of the action, for example, yeah, for those who already receive loans, either in the mortgage loans, yeah, car loans, yeah, they will receive a 6 month postponement, yeah, just like what the government initiative taking place just now I mentioned, right? And the CBB or the Central Bank of Bahrain, they has cut the interest rate, yeah, by 1.5%, cutting interest rate going down from 4% to now 2.45%. Yeah. So now the lending rate is 2.45% in response to economic repercussion of COVID-19 pandemic in the kingdom. Right. So a set of action already taken by the governments and also by the central banks in order to respond the economic repercussion of the COVID-19. However, yeah, we anticipated that the COVID-19 outbreak would potentially impact, yeah, Islamic banking in several dimensions. Yeah, especially if that crisis will be prolonged. Yeah, up to we don't know when the crisis will be over yet, right? So there's several dimensions that might be impacting, but in Islamic banking, for example, in the revenue, fee-based income, asset quality, and liquidity. Yeah. In profitability, we're talking about profitability. Yeah? The recent data by the CBB of Islamic retail bank is saying that the profitability level of Islamic retail bank it's remained stable at 0.3%. Yeah, while the Islamic wholesale bank profitability decreased from zero point 0.6 to 0.4% year on year. So what does it mean? If you're looking at the trend, the historical trend, the Islamic wholesale bank, yeah, Islamic investment bank, the profitability levels was reduced, and it even more. Yeah, like here, the credit rating agency of S&P Global Rating had projected that Islamic banking sectors will experience a dramatic drop in revenue. Yeah, for 2020. Right. So here, a lower interest rate environments, yeah, when the CBB they cutting lending rate by 1.5%, now their lending rate is turned to 2.4%, 2.45%, would potentially uplift the funding costs if the liquidity shrink. The problems later on is the liquidity. We see that liquidity and the margin are likely to come under pressure. So it's might impact the revenue stream by the banking sectors, yeah, and also the Islamic banking sectors. Next slide. Another dimension that might hit Islamic banking is a fee-based income. Yeah? Because the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, yeah, it will weaken the customer spending, yeah, from the demand side. Yeah, because people now getting outside. So you see now in the month of Ramadan when most of people nowadays they previously they consume a lot, but now you see the level of consumption now is limit, right? So it weakened the customer spending, yeah? In retail business also, right? And we also weaken the investor holding cash due to the economic instability, which may lower asset management division and slow down Islamic investment banking activities. Yeah. Here, the coronavirus could also put pressure on fee-based services over by Islamic bank. Yeah? For example, a fee or commission for providing a bank transfer services. Yeah? Here in Bahrain, if you sending money outside the country, there is a commission. But interbanking, if you transfer money, interbank transfers, no commissions, no fee. But If you transfer to other country, there's a commission here. Commission for issuing Islamic credit card, yeah, self custody service. These are among the fee-based income that might potentially get impacted due to the COVID-19. So yes, in the short run, it get impacted the fee-based income, and it even more if the crisis will be prolonged. Next, next slide. No, no, previous. Can you turn back? Yeah, asset quality. Yeah, one of the crucial sector, okay, that get attentions from the regulators and also from the banking players, industrial players, is the asset quality, the capital adequacy here. Yeah, because the coronavirus, yeah, and it also coupled with the oil price drop, it might increase the asset quality risk for Islamic Bank in Bahrain. Yeah. If we looking at the data, statistical data from previous year compiled by the CBB, the asset quality ratio for Islamic Retail Bank, had deteriorated as the NPV ratio. It increased from 9.5% to 10.4% in last quarter in 2019. Right. So now you imagine now they are, customer, they get 6 month postponement, and we don't know what will be happen to those customers now, right? What will be impact for them, for their business. The bank need to reassess the risk profile, right? Especially after the COVID, right? So in that sense, yes, the Islamic banking industry, they make an effect due to the deferment of the loan payments, yeah, and will have an impact on their NPV and NPF level, yeah, in the short run, and especially for industry, for the company and also SME who were shut down or they default due to the COVID-19, and it will be exacerbate the asset quality of the Islamic bank. Now, I refer to the statistical data provided by the CBB. Yeah, the um, asset quality of the Islamic bank is concentrated on the certain area. For example, transportations 34.34%, construction 30%, and trade 19%. Yeah, and yes, those sector are, they are stopping their activities now. They are suspending activities because of the COVID, and that pressure on asset quality could worsen Islamic bank. Yeah, if they put a, if they have the higher impairment on those sector, on transportations, constructions, and trade activities. Yeah. Next. Yeah. This aspect is also the serious dimension that should be looked into account by the regulators and also by the interest industrial liquidity. Yeah, because now we see due to the postponement, the bank don't have an income. The people now, the bankers, they are sitting at home, right? So they don't have income, and liquidity is also liquidity support fund. Perhaps that liquidity support fund that launched by the governments previously, it might be in the short run, yeah, might in the short run will allow the banking industry to meet their financing capacity, right? But assuming that this crisis will be prolonged in the long run, it will be put them in that problem, yeah. And especially the bank, yeah, Islamic bank that are dependent on non-domestic funding account, yeah, which is in other foreign currency, yeah, where they're dependent on non-domestic funding in US dollar, in the pound sterling, yeah. If you look at the statistic, the amount of non-domestic funding account for Islamic bank in Bahrain, it rose from 26% to 38% of deposit, right? And yes, the obligation on foreign exchange, they will put Islamic bank in Bahrain at a riskier situation. Yes, because they need to provide the liquidity in the in the foreign exchange. At the same time, yeah, the global market volatility and the greater concern over the liquidity tightening, it will be hamper or preclude Islamic bank to access the global markets, right? So yes, the banking need to find out the liquidity support, but at the same time, the banking sectors and also Islamic bank need to comply with a set of the regulations set out by the IFRS, set out by the standard regulators in the in the world. So that Islamic bank should reassess the risk profile of their customer, right? Especially after the COVID. As mentioned before, we don't know what will be an impact to the people business, yeah, to the SME business after the 6 months. Yeah? Now 6 months they get the loan holiday, yeah? Financing holiday, but after 6 months, can we assure this customer they are still, yeah, able to profile the obligations? So that the Islamic banking, yeah, they should also reassess a risk profile of their customer, typically by classify the customer who get an impact by the COVID-19 as the high risk. So yes, the liquidity is also the serious concerns by the by the regulators and also by the banking industry, including the Islamic banking and finance industry. Yeah. Next slide. Now I come to the end of my speech. Yeah. So as a concluding remark, yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic is still unfolding. Yeah. It is expected the world after the COVID, post-COVID, will be a different world. Now we see now the business has turned online. Yeah. Online business, e-commerce now after COVID perhaps becomes the primary, and the traditional business becomes secondary. Yeah. It is also anticipated that the affiliated industry like Islamic banking and finance will experience a lower than expected growth, yeah, due to the impact on the several sectors that I mentioned before. And then how the government, how the banking sector they can combat in how they should respond it. Yeah? So Islamic banking in the country they can set up the jointly a wakaf fund to support the those who are getting affected by the COVID-19 as part of their activity. Yeah. For your information, the CBB they launched the Wakaf Fund. Yeah. This fund is taken from the Islamic banking and the Islamic financial industry and make it mandatory by the the CBB. And that fund can be also used now time to use to support those who are getting back for the COVID-19, for family of the deceased and who have died due to the virus, support the family of the sick by paying salary until they have recovered, can also support of expatriate. Yeah, yeah. Many expat here in Bahrain, they get also impacting the COVID-19. Yeah, get less salary, even they lay off from their job. These are the people who are from developing countries. Yeah, they need to get support as well. And yes, the Wakaf Fund can also be used to increase the healthcare facilities. Yeah, the Wakaf Fund can also use to uplifting the healthcare facilities in a way that it can be used to uplifting the hospital capacity. For instance, the hospital beds, ventilators, and the medical staff. Yeah. Next. Yeah. In addition to that, the lower layoff of people that get affected by the pandemic is by providing a temporary credit relief, yeah, to both expat and local. Yeah. Now, another important element is the SME. Supporting SME with relaxing the working capital terms and financing, it is also the utmost important priority to ensure the continuity of the business in these difficult times. One of the initiatives launched by the government is to launch the online platform to support the SME through omo.bh. And lastly, it is anticipated that the default rate of the underlying company will go up, yeah, will increase, and hence it is important for Islamic banking and financial institutions to work with their client both on asset side and liability side to ascertain the optimum solution is reached in order to ensure the NPF level at the at the good point and investor expectations are managed well. So these are some of the impact and initiative that can be taken by the government and Islamic financial sector in order to respond economic repercussion of COVID-19. With that, I stop here. Thank you very much for your listening. I hope it can benefit you. Jazakallah khairan kasiran. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Ya, Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Rizky, for your great explanation regarding the COVID-19 situation in Bahrain and how the government could launch several preventive policies to relieve the economic health of the economic downturn affected by COVID-19 in Bahrain. So we also glad that in Bahrain not so severe like in Indonesia, for example, we have 800 dead cases. So in Bahrain, very low rate in dead cases. So very interesting. And we also not that the Bahrain government also strengthened their fiscal policies and monetary policies, and we also we also note that how the government of Bahrain tackle the smash due to economic downturn by using Tamkin program. So that is very interesting, as well as how the Islamic banking and your suggestions on how for Islamic banking could survive in this situation. Thank you once again for Dr. Muhammad Rizki for your great explanation regarding this topic. So, Dr. Rizki, apparently we have a dozen question here, means that the participants are exciting to hear your topic in this afternoon. But due to the limitation of time, I will pick up only, I think, three or four, yeah, maybe three questions, yeah, for the participants in this afternoon. So I think I will read the question first, one by one, and then you answer the question one by one also. So the first question comes from Dr. Ali Huzaifi. Uh, so regarding the situation of COVID-19 in Bahrain and how the way the Bahrain's government taking a control to handle the virus, the negative impact of the virus. Do you agree that the country is benefited with its only 1 million population? Means he could, if we compare with Indonesia situation, we have 270 million populations. So the number of population has is placed the success of government control the situation.
Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First question from Brother Ali Huzaifi. Yeah.
Yes.
So, asking about whether the population density of only 1 million people sitting in Bahrain are effectively enough to contain the virus, COVID-19 virus. So, if we're looking at the experience from other countries like Singapore, where it only, like Bahrain also in this island, have small populations, right? Taiwan, where they also put a set of initiative, and yes, we see that impact is not as much as other countries, for example, in Europe, in France, in Italy, or even in our home country, beloved country, Indonesia, right? So um, it might be benefit on one side because by having population 1 million people, yeah, less population density, and the government can effectively enforce the policy, enforce the initiative to that people, to the governments. And yes, the most important thing first and foremost is the leadership, leadership, because how you respond, how you tackle the COVID-19, how you tackle the virus is uh, how fast, yeah, how fast you launch the policy, because it is keep changing, because the number of the people getting affected rising, and that need the fast and respond by the government. And since 21st February, I mentioned before, in this country, at already, schools are already, suspended, universities suspended, and government had taken a serious effort for that. At the same time, the people in Bahrain, they also follow the instruction, whatever the government do, because you see, that is the strong leadership by the king, strong leadership by the governments, right? And they get it. Yes, if we keep opening the business, we get a penalty by 5,000 BD, which is a lot. It's near $10,000. Yes, and then people getting afraid of that and no opening business. Yeah, but if you look at the number of case, yeah, 1 million populations, and there is 2,800 case. Yeah, and if we paid it, if we divided the number of the people with positive case divided by total population, it's it's somewhat high percentage rate. Yeah, per million people, Bahrain case is somewhat high in the region. Yeah, yeah. But yes, the effectiveness, it might be effective in a sense that the people can implement their policy, their initiative, um, immediately, right? At the same time, also the people, the society, they are follow whatever the rules, yeah, they abide the rules and the initiative taken by the governments to combat the virus. Hope we can answer you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rizky, for your very clear explanation regarding the question. Hopefully, it's answered the question from Brother Ali. So, well, we have the second question from Ali Shamani Alansori. Yeah, he asked about the what the comparative advantage that can Islamic finance industry offer so they can survive from this COVID crisis. Yeah, since I mean the risk management of Islamic banking is different from the conventional one. So what can Islamic banking offers due to the situation?
Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Question from Brother Ali Alansori. The comparative advantages can be overcome by the Islamic banking and finance industry. I would like to say that this COVID-19, it can be turned into blessing in disguise. Yeah? What I mean is, although we are in a difficult time, yeah, but there is also some opportunities. For example, here, because of the, I mentioned before, the government had reduced the interest rate. Yeah, the loans, lending rate is cheap, right? So that it is a kind of the opportunity for the Islamic corporations and for the industry, Islamic industry, to launch the sukuk, yeah, to launch the sukuk in order to um, uplifting, yeah, the number of the Islamic fixed income security. And in a way, it also can respond the economic repercussion of the COVID-19. That is number one. Yeah, because of the the cheap fund and the government, the cutting down the lending rate, so it can be a room for the corporations to launch the Islamic fixed income instruments. Right. Second way is, then I think this is also crucial for banking and industry and also for Islamic corporations. They now fasten their process into digital channel, to digital economy. Yeah. Because the people, the staff are working from home, right? Not the traditional way of their working in the office and they're sitting on the office. Right. I asked my student was working in the, the ISB. Now it will be saving the cost. Yeah. But the problem is how the bank can make sure whether these people doing the right things, right? Or how they make sure whether they are make sure this thing is right, right? This is another challenge. Yeah. Yes. At the same time, it fastened the shifting to the digital channel activity in Islamic banking and finance. Even, for your informations, the Bahrain has launched, I think last year, the we call it Bahrain FinTech Bay. Yeah, Bahrain FinTech Bay launched by the CBB in order to uplifting the financial technological activities, including the Islamic fintech activities. Yeah, Yes, Islamic banking need to embark also the Islamic fintech in a way that they can use the benefit of technologies like a blockchain activities now, because the disruption of COVID-19 is at after the COVID we see now there is a shifting to that digital that it become a primary, I believe. Yeah, and Islamic bank need to adopt this, need to adapt it. Yeah, so adopting the fintech, the Islamic fintech, in a way that it fasten the digital channels, it will bring an opportunity for Islamic banking and finance. Another thing that I want to stress is liquidity. Yeah, problem of liquidity, and it becomes a serious issue for the banking sector, and also Islamic banking sector, because see, because during the 3 months a loan holiday, yeah, and then postponement, sorry, 6 month loan postponement, and they don't know about what will be the impact the provide of their customer after the COVID. That is the serious issue with the banking to to ascertain the liquidity support to the people, to the customer. I hope we can answer it.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Muhammad Rizky, for your great explanation. Yeah, regarding the second question. So we have another questions uh, from Art Fidel. So this is regarding the social finance or social Islamic finance that you discussed before in concluding remarks. Uh, can zakat also contribute to the handle this situation since you mentioned the wakaf? And how about zakat? Maybe you can explain to us. Maybe you can share to us the and how Bahrain government utilizing zakat fund to handle the situation.
Yeah. Regarding the zakat, here Bahrain is under administer of Ministry of Justice and Religious Affairs. Yeah, so it's not under the CBD. While the central bank, they set up the Wakaf fund, yeah, that can take it up from the banking participant, also Islamic corporations. So the ministry, yes, Ministry Justice and Affair, had taken the initiative also to taken the zakat, yeah, from the individual and also from the institutions, still combating the impact of COVID-19. For your information, government had launched also the charities, yeah, there's donations to respond the virus. The name is Fina here. Yeah, both the local corporation and also expatriate in Bahrain, they contribute to that charity, the donations, yeah, in a way that hand in hand with the economic stimulus package provided by governments. Now the FINA here, it reached 35 billion, 35 millions Bahraini dinar. Yeah. So yes, aside from the government initiative, now the government had initiated the donation, the charity, but it is not exclusively only for the the infaq, not only for Muslim, for non-Muslim also the government taken initiative, and the Wakaf fund, yeah, itself from the institutions, it already established the Wakaf fund, even it's already had utilized for different activities, for example, for research activities, training, leaderships, educations, and writing the Islamic economic and finance book. And now we are proposing that Wakaf Fund can also be utilized to alleviate the those who are getting impacted by the COVID-19, those who are laying off, don't have a job, and also the expatriate who will facing the cutting down of their salary, and also to increase the healthcare services. Yeah. So yes, zakat fund, which is administered under Ministry of Justice and Affairs, has a potential repercussions to alleviate the impact of COVID-19, together with the Wakaf Fund and the donations that launched through the FINA Fair. The name is FINA Fair, launched by the governments. So both the charity activities and the economic stimulus packages, I believe it will be had a significant impact in the perhaps in the short and the medium run. But yet again, if we need to anticipate it, if that crisis prolong, we don't know whether it is end until end of the year, with we end until the summers, then we need to take a serious effort to think about how the Islamic banking and finance could get relief from these situations.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rizky, for your clear answer and explanation on how the government of Bahrain tackled the COVID-19 through the social finance, so Islamic social finance, both wakaf and also zakat. So finally, Dr. Rizky, we have another question, but due to the limitation of time, maybe it is that the last question from the participants. So looks like Dr. Rizky also has answered all of queries. So is there anything else would you like to mention, Dr. Rizky?
Um, just want to say, keep healthy, be safe, yeah, keep social distancing, and also uplifting our iman, uplifting our ibadah amid this difficult time. My Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all of our means, and soon we'll be rid out of this coronavirus outbreak, inshallah. Thank you very
Mashallah.
much.
Yes, yes. You're welcome, Dr. Rizky. Alhamdulillah, we got some advices from Dr. Rizky regarding how to facing the COVID crisis during the great month of Ramadan. So thank you once again, Dr. Rizky, for your
You're welcome.
very clear and very impressive presentation regarding the impact of COVID-19 to the Islamic financial industries in MENA, particularly in Bahrain, the Kingdom of Bahrain. Thank you so much. So
You're
maybe, inshallah, hopefully we can collaborate in the next agenda, inshallah. So before I close the event, we have some important announcements for the participants. So we informed that Puskas BAZNAS currently opening the submissions, the article of Zakat in our journal, namely International Journal of Zakat, volume 5, number 1. So they do that. It's on May 28, 2020. So don't forget to send your article, your best article to our journal, and inshallah the accepted paper will be rewarded, yeah, by us, by Puskas BAZNAS. So on behalf of Puskas BAZNAS, Dr. Rizky would like to say thank you for your willingness to attend our webinar, and all
Thank
of
you
our
very much. Thank you very
listeners,
much also, Brother Aziz.
yes, for joining our webinar. We have to see you again in the upcoming Puskas webinar. That's all for me. Thank you so much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.